You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma podcast. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today, but before we do, I've got to thank our sponsors. First of all, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. They've been a huge part of this podcast for the last few years. So the Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to oklahomahof on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is the Chickasaw Nation. Now, the Chickasaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and it's an honor to have their name and their brand supporting this podcast. So a huge shout out to Governor Anatoby for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot. Our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is brought to you by Hope is Alive. Hope is Alive exists to radically change the lives of drug addicts, alcoholics, and those who love them. Join us on August 11th at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum for a celebration of hope featuring guest speaker Tim Tebow and musical artist Ben Fuller. Find out more and get your tickets at HIA10.com. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode. Gives me great pleasure to introduce return guest Mr. Eddie Radosivich, formerly on episode 308, which was a couple of years ago. Since then, your Twitter following has significantly jumped.
It was because of the appearance. It definitely was. No, it's good to be back. It feels like it's been forever.
We were forever.
Just talking just a minute ago about like how long it's been, and I can't believe it's already been 2.5 years, 2 years.
I know. It's COVID, right? Like it's just,
everything was in a blur there for a while, wasn't it?
Everything was in a blur. Well, on my way down here, I've made a bunch of notes of what we should talk about today. You've just come back from SEC Media Day.
Yeah.
But it was Big 12 Media Day first.
Big 12 Media Day was down in Arlington 2 weeks ago, about a week and a half ago, and then we went to the final 2 days of SEC Media Day, which, it was kind of weird because Oklahoma's obviously not in the SEC right now.
Right.
It's still a year away, or less than a year away, July 1 of 2024. But we wanted to go and kind of get a lay of the land and, obviously see some of the faces that we're going to be seeing here over the next couple of years. So it was, it basically was a trip to get out to Nashville. On3, who we just moved the site, Sooner Scoop, over. They're based out of Nashville, so we wanted to meet some of the people over there, and it was cool. Like I have my own feeling and thought process on media days in the middle of July, which you don't get a whole lot out of it because the same questions that were asked at Big 12 Media Day will be asked at local Media Day next week at Oklahoma. But it is like there are certain speed bumps that you have to get through to begin the season.
Okay.
Preseason polls is one of them, which I don't care for at all. The media day aspect is another, and then it finally feels like this is truly the final calm before the storm.
Yeah.
That is the season. So it was good to meet a bunch of people. I knew a couple people out there on Radio Row, but it's the SEC. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit more, I don't know, I guess there's just so many media members that come from all, walks of life down there. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think, it's obviously new for you guys going out there and you know everyone pretty much in the industry anyway, but do you kind of get that sense that you're you're like the new guys on the block, right?
A little bit.
Just looking around and these guys are like, oh, fuck.
Here's
Texas,
the Oklahoma
you were in
people.
town.
No, it was good though, and the kind of the cool aspect of it was because Oklahoma's not in the SEC yet. We didn't really have a set schedule on where we needed to be. We had to, you run around at the Big 12 Media Day, and you're so focused on specifically covering Oklahoma. You're so focused on not wanting to miss anything that's said by any of the guys that are there, particularly Brent Venables, and then all the cast of characters that come with the Oklahoma contingent. But at the same time, being out there and being able to kind of do some Oklahoma type angles. Josh Heupel was there one of the days that we were there. Shane Beamer, a former Oklahoma coach, was there with South Carolina. So it was cool just to kind of get a lay of the land and kind of know what to expect when Oklahoma is actually in the SEC in 2024.
Yeah, it's coming. It'll be here fast.
No, it will be. It will be. It's kind of like the football season starting. You get through like the dog days of summer, and then all of a sudden we're sitting, basically this week, and it's like, well, we need to get this, and this done before season actually begins, and working on previews and position breakdowns and stuff like that. So it was a good kind of a dress rehearsal, if you will, and we'll be in it for the real thing here coming up in about a year when they're going to be doing it down in Dallas.
Which is nice.
Yeah, it is nice. It's nice because it's close. It's nice because the lay of the land and all that. But being out in Nashville was, it's not a town that we have become accustomed to going to for Big 12 or anything like that. And you can kind of throw Atlanta in the same mix. It's going to be fun to get out to some of these new places.
Yeah. You can give these a little bit of room if you want.
Cool.
Don't worry about.
I didn't know how close.
I know your radio mics are like
right
in the face.
Oh my gosh, you gotta
with these you can give them a little bit of room.
Cool.
The other thing I think that's cool, and we'll get to Big 12 in a second, but I got some friends who are in SEC schools, right? And they're SEC fans, and as soon as you see the schedule, and like friends down in Baton Rouge are like, "You're coming to the game, right?" Like, it looks like a Friday night game.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll be there.
Yeah.
So there's so many going to be some. Just. It's new, right? And I didn't think about this the other day until someone told me. They were like, you look at it as like graduating up into a different bracket, right? And as a golfer, you want to play with the best players, right? And the same with every sport. You want to compete with the best. And obviously over the years, the SEC, as much as people I think don't like to say that, they've been the best, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it makes sense from a longevity, like we need to be amongst the best, but at the same time, like, when you've won as many championships as OU has won and dominated like they have over the years, there's not much else for them to do in the Big 12.
Right. And, I think that it obviously rubbed people the wrong way, the way that it all went down. And, Oklahoma State, they have their own thought process and feelings on how they feel like they were left behind to a certain extent. But at the same time, I do think that, it's always kind of like one of those things that even with OU football, that I try to look at it from another angle as far as if that would have happened and the roles were reversed, obviously Oklahoma fans would feel very, very, some way about being left behind. But at the same time, it was a no-brainer. You got to go play. And especially in the ever-changing world of college football, I mean, everything is changing over the next couple of years. And obviously with the expansion of the playoff and the way the television contracts work now, I mean, there is the business element to it. I mean, it's all about money. It always has been about money. But, at the same time, I think it's going to be great for the sport. It's going to be great for the school. It's great business-wise for us at Sooner Scoop. I mean, it's unbelievable. So the passion that the fan bases carry, it certainly matches up with the ideology of what those SEC schools are. And it's just going to be kind of fun and unique to see how they kind of carve out their own role. And, obviously they're going to have to be better on the field this year. And, just with the way that recruiting works and how big that is in the college football landscape, in any landscape really in college athletics, it's going to be, I think, beneficial for Oklahoma in the long run to get there and to kind of get it out of the way.
Yeah. What are you most excited about then going into the new 2024 in SEC? Like what? And I'm sure you've answered this question a million times, but is there anything other than, going to cool stadiums that just really, you think that down the road this is going to be, personally for you as well with work or just, it doesn't matter what it is, but what stands out that like, wow, this is going to be,
I mean, I think probably the easy answer is just all the new spots that we'll go to and places that, kind of have their own lore about them, whether it be a Baton Rouge on a Saturday night or, Oxford, which is known for its tailgating scene down at the Grove, or even a place like Auburn that, I think that they've had their place in college football, certainly history, but to a certain extent, you don't know a whole lot about it. Like the first time that Oklahoma played Georgia was 2017 at the Rose Bowl, believe it or not. So it's, I think just getting out and seeing some of the new places, even a place like Vanderbilt that's located in Nashville. I mean, it's going to be fun to just be able to go over there and kind of see the scenes that come with a game day in that. And that's probably one of the quote unquote lower levels of SEC football. So I would say that that's the easiest part, or like the easy answer. And then I think just professionally, I think with so many eyeballs that the SEC brings, it's an opportunity to, personally grow a brand. And then obviously with Sooner Scoop and everything that we want to do here over the next couple years with building an office down in Campus Corner, which we've opened since, I think since we last talked, because we've only been there a year, there's just multitude of things that we're going to be able to do from a journalistic standpoint that we could probably still do in the Big 12. Obviously, you could still do it, but there's so many more eyeballs now. And, the college football is kind of in an interesting spot just because there is so much change. It's kind of like the beginning of something that is going to be very, very new for everybody. And it seems like college football and, college athletics, maybe even to a certain extent in general, over the next, 3, 4, 5 years is going to undergo so much change that it's kind of fun to be, I don't know about like at the starting point of all that, but it certainly feels like it's going to be something bigger than what it is. And it already is obviously just massive.
Yeah. And then you have, like you said, your personal side of things too, right? Like your day-to-day job and,
sure.
and how things work on game day. And for people listening, if they haven't listened to that first episode that we did, just give people a quick recap of like exactly what it is that you do and what a game day looks like.
Yeah. So I work for Soonerscoop.com. I do all the video for them, kind of a videographer, I guess is probably the best way to say it. But we have 3 guys now that are dedicated to the OU football beat, really 4 with myself, George Stoya, who we hired from the Denver Gazette. He was an Oklahoma graduate. Bob Przybilla, who's been with us for a couple years, and Kerry Murdoch. And then Josh McQuistion does he does team stuff as well, but he's the head publisher on the recruiting side of things. And, a given game day basically starts at, we'll go 11 a.m. just because that seems like what OU always plays. But we'll do some type of pregame show. We plan on doing some type of YouTube pregame and postgame this year. And then obviously I go and we cover the game, and I'm down on the field. Been lucky enough to be on the field for, I guess this would be my 11th season covering Oklahoma football. And, they've experienced a lot of highs here over the last 10 years. And, there's been some lows here of recently, but it's still, it's fun. Growing up being an Oklahoma fan, going to Oklahoma games, I think that's one thing that we've been able to kind of carve out a niche as far as I wouldn't necessarily say a voice of the fan, but we do. I think most fans out there subscribe to kind of our thoughts and feelings and kind of the conduit, I guess, between the fan and the team. And it's been a lot of fun. And, we do all the video. So I'll shoot all the games, go home, do all the press conferences, we put video over it and all that. And we're going to do more like breakdown stuff this year, I think, which I'm really excited about on our YouTube page. And then through, stuff back in studio, we have Kerry Murdoch and Josh McQuistion have made a lot of investments into the product that we put out. And, we're pretty proud of, I think, what we've built here over the last 10 years in counting. And I think that's why we made the move to On3. And then it's been kind of fun to be part of that process. And now it feels like it's starting to really kind of come to fruition as far as what we're able to put out on a game day or throughout a week going into a game.
Well, tell me about the move to On3. What's that? And how significant is that? Yeah,
it was massive. And, we were with Rivals for 20 years. And I was with them for the last 10 of those 20. And On3 is basically, it was started by a guy named Shannon Terry, who started Rivals and then sold it off and then started 24/7. And he's out of that now and he started On3. And it's basically, it's I guess, it would be a hosting site, I guess, but On3, from what they do with national guys, just hired Andy Staples and they have more kind of planned as far as what they want to do. It's rather interesting just how much media in general has changed, and I'm sure that you're well aware of that. Podcasting has become bigger than ever. Being able to be on YouTube and do stuff. I was late to the party on YouTube. Like, I didn't understand it. I didn't know why people would want to watch a podcast instead of listen to a podcast. And I'm completely old when it comes to that. But like, it's become a massive, massive platform, particularly for the sports side of things. And, for everything else that's out there now, it seems like everybody has some type of podcast presence or some type of YouTube presence. And, On3 it's been awesome just from what they offer on the NIL side of things, name, image, likeness, and the valuations that go into players, which is just massive nowadays. And especially on the college ranks, it's become kind of the way of life. And I think once you can't like push it away because it's not going anywhere. It's only going to become a stronger player in the college landscape. And it's been kind of fascinating to watch it kind of go from something that people thought was going to be maybe nothing into what it is now, where these players are making, six figures on the first day of campus.
Right. Which, like you said, it's going to be around a long time. It's not going anywhere. If anything, it's going to get bigger. But also these kids, the reality of some of these kids actually making it after college, like this money is doing, it's so much good is being done with this money.
Sure.
I'm sure there are bad things too.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
giving hundreds of thousands of dollars to 18
Never a good idea. Never a good idea.
Like, and cars and all the stuff that's been going on for years anyway, but now it's legal. But again, it's a huge recruiting tool.
No, it's massive. I think that the way that's what's most interesting right now in college athletics is there is going to be some type of federal, guard or something that happens because the schools are asking for it. And right now it's a little bit like the Wild Wild West. Nobody really knows what's going on. Everybody's playing by a different set of rules, even though they're somewhat the same style rule. That's going to be interesting to see what the NCAA does as far as getting some type of mandate or some type of protection on it. But at the same time, there is so much good that's gone on, whether it's and Angel Reese, particularly on the women's side of things, there's money that is out there that would have never been out there had NIL not taken place. And, there's some people that have probably taken advantage of it, and not even probably, they have. But at the same time, like, I am of the opinion that, and this used to be like a very controversial take, that players should be paid for their name, image, and likeness, especially at the college ranks where they're making billions of dollars every year. So how do you kind of navigate saying, yeah, this is good, but this is bad, when it's all, basically the same thing? And I think that's what is so interesting. Greg Sankey talked about it last week at SEC Media Days. It was obviously a massive talking point, and it's not going to go anywhere. So it's kind of one of those things that the NCAA has been asleep at the wheel for so long that now everything has kind of gotten out of control, and they're trying to rein it back in. But at the same time, how do you, kind of put the toothpaste back into the tube?
Yeah, no, you're right. And I had JC Watts on the podcast. We did 2 parts, and we did, one of them was about his football and the other was about his politics. And in the football part, he's just ripping on the NCAA the whole time. He's like, I'm paraphrasing, but I think he said they're crooks. They've always been crooks, something like that. And again, we could argue that for the PGA Tour and other organizations that have just exploited and taken advantage of athletes for a very long time. And athletes can't really do much about it. Like, that they're kind of stuck. But moving away from that, you got a few schools joining Big 12, which is exciting. Yeah. How was that?
It was really awkward, I think is probably the best way to say it, just because you don't really, the brands that are coming in are fantastic. Brett Yormark's done an incredible job with the news that the Big 12 was given when Oklahoma and Texas, kind of made the announcement, or it was leaked, or whatever you want to say, 2 years ago. But at the same time, to keep the conference's head above water, he's been unbelievable. And he is a little bit of that new era of conference commissioner, in that he gets the entertainment side of it. He gets, kind of what schools want, or where this thing is going, wherever that may be. even how hard it is to project where the television money is going to be going in the next couple of years. So what he did in being able to get to Central Florida, which I think is, an incredible recruiting landscape, down in Orlando, Gus Malzahn's a terrific head coach. I think that they could be a really big addition in all sports, not just football. And then obviously with BYU, it's a national brand with the Mormon religion. Obviously the football team has been extremely good over the last, couple decades, even going back all the way to, maybe even the mid 80s. And then Cincinnati and Houston are kind of friendly foes that have always been around. And Cincinnati's going to be interesting coming out of the Luke Fickell era as they welcome in a new coach in Scott Satterfield, and then Houston, who, obviously I think anybody that lives around this region of the world would know Houston's been a good player in all sports. Obviously with Kelvin Sampson in basketball, they've been outstanding over the last couple of years. And then, with Dana Holgerson, who a lot of people are familiar with. So it's going to be fun. Like, I've never been to Utah, so we're going to Provo. Oklahoma's going to Provo at the end of November. And then Cincinnati, I've only been up there once, and that should be cool. I think they have the oldest stadium in the country at Nippert Stadium. So it'd be cool just to go see something like that before Oklahoma gets escorted out.
Yeah, like you've kind of probably got the best 2 years of being around OU football, right? You're like, we get to see all these new places in the 2 years, right? And we're kind of hopefully going out with a bang, and winning as you leave, and then actually going to SEC, which 2 years of really cool games and new places, and and not even just football, right? Like Houston's golf team has been good for a long time. They've got some pretty...
All the way back to the Jim Nance, Fred Couple days,
exactly.
right? I mean, and it is cool to see, like, just the ever-changing landscape of college athletics, because even in the last 5 years, it's changed so much, dramatically. And, obviously in football, everybody's chasing, the SEC and Georgia and Alabama, but at the same time, it's been kind of fun to see how that's going to come together. And some of the smaller sports, like softball, is going to be a lot of fun. I think baseball is going to be a lot of fun. Golf's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be different for sure, because Oklahoma has one foot out the door, kind of, and you could feel it even at Big 12 Media Day. And Oklahoma's always going to be hated a little bit. It's kind of like Alabama. Everybody, they hate the top dog. You hate the school that wins all the time. And there's some pleasure, I think, from the Big 12 brass that Oklahoma and Texas are going to kind of get it or get stuck a little bit here at the end, or that they've been struggling a little bit on the field. So I don't know. It's the whole season's going to be awkward. I think anywhere Oklahoma goes is going to be awkward. I think the phrase that they use down in Norman is Oklahoma's everybody's game 7, and you're going to get their best shot. So it should still be a lot of fun to kind of navigate those waters. And I think even though there is a certain level of excitement going into the SEC stuff, it's going to be different. And I think that, it's almost like, because it is going to be so much different, there is a little bit of angst that comes with just not knowing how all this is going to turn out.
It's exciting, right? Like, that's the beauty of it. There's so much going on. And I was, I saw you down there with the Corn Ferry tournament at Jimmy Austin, and for our Pro-Am party, we went to the stadium and we got to tour the facility.
Yeah.
Just walking through, like, the football facility, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I was shocked that they have a golf simulator in the locker room, which is like the greatest thing ever to me.
I know where I would spend most of my time in that locker room.
Right, like, no, I don't need to be looking at plays. I'm going to work on my game.
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe they need to take that thing out of there.
Maybe
there's too many guys in the simulator instead of the film room.
I don't know how long that has been in there, but I hit some shots on it. It works. But you're down there and it's. And I know they're trying to figure out the tailgating thing going forward, right? Because that feels like it's taken a hit over the last 3 to 5 years or whatever it is, once they've built some new buildings and stuff. But I mean, Norman's a football town. Yeah. Right? Like, now, like I said, your office is in the middle of it.
Yeah. Everything runs through the football program. And it's crazy that there's so many of those businesses. And I think this is like the exciting part about going to the SECs. There's so many people that are entrepreneurs right now that are funneling money into Norman because they know the money that's going to come out when you have an Alabama fan base coming to Norman, or you have a Tennessee fan base coming to Norman. And, in a way, I think that some of those places have been hurt by the Big 12. And I think that was kind of the impetus for moving. Obviously, you're getting a bunch of dollar signs when you're talking about television contracts, but at the same time, some of those restaurants, some of the bars down there, Campus Corner's been hurting for a while. And I think that, it's going to be kind of fun to see the investments that come prior to the move and, kind of the fruits of that labor that come at the end of all of this when the move is made and you're able to welcome in, there's bars that basically their biggest Saturdays are 6 to 7 times a year, and those are the Oklahoma home games, and they've been hurt because of the 11 a.m. kickoffs. So I'm happy for those people. Obviously, from like a personal standpoint, it's great for business. I mean, the fandom and the passion that come with SEC fan bases is probably, I don't know if it can be compared to anything because of the money that will come in, and even Oklahoma City to a certain extent, of people that will come stay at the Omni for a game down in Norman. And you could say the same thing in Stillwater to a certain extent, but I think it's just going to be that much greater. And especially when you're talking about an Alabama coming to Norman in 2024, you're probably talking about maybe one of the biggest game days down in Norman in maybe a decade, probably like since, Ohio State came or like a Notre Dame came in 2012. Like it's been a long time since they've had the quote unquote big game in Norman.
Yeah. That Notre Dame game was freezing. I was at that game. It was so cold.
Yeah, and James Harden got traded in the middle of it, and then OU lost. So it was probably a night that a lot of people that are listening will try to forget.
Game at all. You were recently talking to OU football. You were recently involved in Baker's camp recently, right?
Yeah.
We were supposed to record that day, but obviously it was very busy.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about kind of like your involvement with the guys that have graduated and moved on.
Baker's been great, and I think that obviously he is kind of a son of Oklahoma, even though he's from Austin. That I think going all the way back to when he came to Norman the first time around in 2015, or showed up in 2014, and then the picture of him was in a jersey at a game day. Like that kind of stuff endeared him to a fan base that was kind of searching and kind of needing something back in those times. And then obviously the success that came on the football field certainly helped, and going into a couple Heisman Trophy ceremonies, winning the Heisman. It's been really cool that he still has a love for the fan base, a love for giving back to the community. He's extremely active in Meals on Wheels, which is based out of Cleveland County, delivering food to elderly and people of those that need. And he's been awesome. I did some hosting stuff for his Meals on Wheels event over at Top Golf, and then he has the annual Kids Camp, which is still kind of incredible that they are able to get the numbers that they do, given that nowadays kids that were probably infants when he was down in Norman are going to these camps, and it's just really cool to see him give back and still have a need or a want to come back and help the community of Norman, certainly, and then the folks around it. So it was a lot of fun. It was hot. It usually always is this time of the year when he has the camp, but it was good to catch up with him for a little bit before he headed back. And they start camp now in Tampa this week.
That's crazy.
It's nuts,
right? It's nuts. So fast. I think I saw you a couple of weeks ago at a golf tournament.
Yeah.
And I said, "What have you been up to?" And you're like, "Well, now it's kind of like my chill time."
Yeah.
But I'm about to get really busy.
This is kind of like the final week of July is usually like the calm before the storm. I mean, they have local media day next Tuesday down in Norman, and then they start camp on August 3rd. So next Thursday, which is just it's wild how the summer usually drags by, and then all of a sudden it's boom. And next thing you know, it's December. So it's a fun part. It's a lot of work, obviously, but as a journalist that covers football and particularly the college ranks, you kind of get in these modes where like June and July, you don't feel like you're doing a whole lot, and you kind of have this worthless sense of feeling. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm ready for it to be January. I'm ready for this to be over.
Yeah, I'm sure, because it's busy, right? You're slammed the whole time, right? It's we're not doing much, and now it's full on. We're all over the country.
You get the full on football, and then like November hits, and all of a sudden college basketball's going on, which it's hard to like change those gears a little bit.
Yeah.
And especially for the Oklahoma football fan that is so wrapped up in everything that's going on in the football season, it's almost like you don't pay attention really to basketball until, middle of December when things are finally starting to calm down.
Moving things away from football, you have a 2019 Masters hat on. Was that the one you and Carsten went to?
Yes. Yeah, we were out there.
Was the AM that year?
The what?
Victor Holdman was the AM that year?
Yes. Yeah, he was the low AM. Carson Cunningham was out there, and we had a day. It was one of the best trips I've ever made. And obviously, I think for any golfer, getting to Augusta is kind of a bucket list type deal. But it was, it's truly one of those events that people talk about it, and you have this idea, and then it matches up and it aligns with everything that you've been told and then some. And I think that that's like kind of the lore, the magical part of going to Augusta. Like you've been there. It truly is. There's nothing like it. I mean, I think that all the way down to not having a phone out there, I don't know if I'd want to be out there with a phone. It's almost like you kind of get lost in everything that is.
It just takes you from the experience,
right?
And I went with my dad this year, and just like, it's almost emotional when you walk in, right? And we walked into the South Gate, walked kind of by, 14, 15, 13 green area, and just like, I'm here.
Yeah.
Right? Like, my hairs were standing up on my arm, and I was walking in, I'm like, this is it, right?
Yeah.
And there are sometimes it is like very, it's such a good spot to go to, but there is other times I'm like, the TV makes it look so good.
Right.
And there are times like it's not that good.
Yeah.
But it is up there. It's very close.
It really is unbelievable. And it's kind of like everything else too. And you hear about like the undulation and all the walking that you have to do. But even like walking up reverse up 10, which seems like it's a mountain.
It's a ski slope.
It's like it truly like is one of those things that like you can't put it into words how up and down that place is, and the different style of shots that you have to hit into each hole, and the kind of just what it demands of you as a golfer. It's truly an experience. Like I've told everybody since I got back in 2019 was like, if you ever have an opportunity and you have to, like, whatever you have to do it. Just go experience it. And it's almost kind of like everybody that you're in the gallery with or the patrons, it's like you're all in on this thing that nobody else knows about.
Right. Yeah, you're totally right. Do you have a favorite master story from that day then? Or one that you might have heard?
I mean, so we got out there on a Tuesday night. I went to Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
So, and it's kind of like two different worlds because you're getting the practice round. You got the par 3 course and all that kind of stuff. Went over and did that. Like we walked out on Wednesday and Tiger's walking down 1. And that was like kind of like the first taste of like, holy crap, this is surreal. But then like we also got into Berkman's place on 5, nice. Which was awesome. And it was like two different styles a day. And then Thursday, I went out there after the radio show after we got done and just met up with Carson. And of course, it was like, okay, we'll meet at the scoreboard on 1 at noon. Yeah. And,
good luck.
It's like, look for the guy wearing the master stuff. Well, you can't exactly do that, which was cool. And we finally met up, and man, we sat on 15 green and watched kind of over to the left of 15 green so you could still see 16 tee box. We sat there for probably 5 hours and just walked around that area, which it was almost shocking, like how much room there is around all that stuff.
It's a huge piece of property.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. And it's crazy to think that they keep buying more land with everything behind it. But it was just, I think, being there, and then it also added into the kind of the lore that, Tiger obviously goes on to win that week, and how special that was for the golf community. It was truly unbelievable, like and how easy everything is, whether it's going into the shops and stuff, and then you just FedEx everything back, and it's incredible. It really is incredible. And everybody's talked about the concession prices and all that kind of stuff. It truly, like, it still doesn't seem real almost.
And that was one of the guys who also that I know that I was also there this year, he said that the concession and the concession stands and the pro shop area is the Chick-fil-A of golf.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're just on it. And
Yeah.
you're right. My package arrived before I did.
Yeah.
Coming home.
Yeah.
So-
Even like the bathrooms are like,
Yeah.
I could eat lunch in here.
Right.
Like they're so clean. Everything is just perfect. And it's almost down to the extent of somebody like, they're throwing trash away and you miss the trash and somebody else, I got it for you. And they'll throw it away. It's incredible.
It's so good. Talking golf, the Open just finished.
Yeah.
We have an Oklahoma caddy winning the Open.
So
which
cool.
Is fantastic.
It was cool to the extent of felt great for Brian Harmon.
Sure.
It's a great story. Scott Chway is unbelievable that he was on the bag for an experience like that. But from like a viewer aspect, I felt so bad because I'm sitting there yesterday like, if he triples,
Just make it
14, just like even a 2-shot lead going into 17 and 18 would be, from a viewing standpoint, obviously better. But I don't know. The majors this year were just kind of blah. They were. It is what it is. Like, but that's, I don't know. I guess to a certain aspect, you say that, and then you also say Brian Harmon was incredible. Like he whipped everybody's ass, and you got to give some credit there because nobody played like he did this weekend. I guess it is kind of cool from the aspect too that with so much put into driving distance and all that kind of stuff in the game, to see somebody do it that doesn't exactly excel at driving distance, or he does everything the right way, and he seems like a good guy. So that was cool.
Yeah, it was. I haven't watched any of it all weekend, and I kind of caught the highlights. I watched the highlight last night, and then I watched every shot of his round.
Yeah.
The video straight after.
Yeah.
And I mean, he hit some bad swings, but also like putted unbelievably, which I think is the difference maker. But yeah, I mean, every par 4 he's got like 5, 4, 3 iron into.
Yeah,
I mean, he's not.
It's incredible, and I think that like when you talk about like rolling back the golf ball and that kind of stuff, it would be kind of cool to see guys have to hit long irons into greens that for the most part nowadays, if you can just drive it 360 like Rory or somebody like that, it's like it takes a little bit out of the game, and it takes like a little bit of the art out of the game, especially around the greens and stuff like that. But I don't know, it's been interesting to see kind of that whole discussion, and with as many eyeballs that are on the sport right now, I guess in a way, like it's not going to do anything for the average normal person that wants to turn on the 3M this week. But at the same time, like it is kind of special to see guys win in various ways.
Yeah. I mean, you're right with the majors. I mean, obviously all of Oklahoma wanted Ricky to win.
Sure.
Not many people know that Wyndham Clark also played golf at Oklahoma State.
Sure.
So that was big, and I can't remember who won the other two.
Brooks Koepka won the PGA, and then Johnny Boy.
Jon Rahm won, which that was good. It's
Yeah.
good but also he kind of dominated. Well, kind of. That wasn't bad, actually. But still. Like,
There was still questions going into the back nine. And, I think anybody that watches a major, like, you want to have some type of question that needs to be answered with 9 holes to play. And this year is just like, okay. Like, you're looking at the clock. Like, if it wasn't at 11 a.m. on a Sunday, I probably would have been checked out. I'll be completely honest.
Right. No, I think you're totally right. Did you go to Live when it came to Tulsa?
I did.
How was it?
I had a lot of fun.
That's what I've heard from a lot of people.
But I would say from like a, very pro PGA tour and everything that I don't want to say represent, but like the old guard, if you will, it was just kind of like, okay. I don't think that people are taking this too seriously.
Okay. Did it feel like the scene in Happy Gilmore? He's like, this is golf. Go back to your shanty.
A little bit. Okay. It felt like... And I say this, like, we spent a lot of time over on 13 in somebody's backyard at a house party. Like, that was kind of what we did. Yeah. I watched probably 25 shots that entire day, which, you go to a golf tournament, I think you want to watch every golf shot that you possibly can. And it just felt like it was, I hate to say that it felt very unserious, but that's kind of how it felt.
Yeah.
And it also felt like if I was going to a golf tournament for the first time and I'd never been to a Masters or I'd never been to a PGA Championship or a US Open or anything like that, you would go, this was awesome. Why don't they do this all the time?
Right.
Like people, parachuting into the first fairway and music as loud as you can possibly imagine. Like one of the lasting impressions that I have of the Live Tour up in Tulsa was, God, I can't even remember who played in the playoff now, but
DJ and Cam Smith.
Cam Smith,
and then someone else.
Yes,
3, right?
Yes,
yeah.
it was Cam Smith, and he has like a 13-foot putt on 18 to force a playoff. And there's just, it sounded like you were at a Las Vegas club, like with all the music and stuff. And it's just like, this is cool, but it just doesn't feel like what I'm accustomed to. And I think that was probably the biggest part, is it just didn't feel like a golf tournament. But at the end of the day, it was fun. And, I Live, for as bad as you want to talk about it, has forced some change in golf that is obviously a very, very good thing for the sport as a whole. So I don't know. It just like, I don't know about you, but like you got like 6 months into the PGA Live stuff, and it's just like, I don't care how they do it. I just want Cam Smith, Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, the best golfers in the world. I want them to be playing in the same tournaments as Jordan Spieth, Ricky Fowler, and so on and so on. Right. So if that's what we had to do to get to where this thing's going, I guess at the end of the day, I'm fine with it. There will be people though that argue back and forth on, who quote unquote won for perpetuity.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, as Oklahomans, we have like a lot of guys playing Live.
Yeah.
Right? You got Gooch, Answer, Uline, Charles Howell, Answer. I mean, like, we can't help but be involved.
Right.
Right.
But, and I think that Oklahoma, like, you put everybody together, and the golf community, whether it be an Oklahoma amateur or the stroke play event or anything like that, like it has such a stronghold right now in where the sport is that you can't tell the kind of quote unquote golf story without mentioning Oklahoma. And I think that that's like the cool, unique part about all this, is that hopefully somebody like a Cedar Ridge or a Southern Hills or Oak Tree National or whoever, they can all be winners out of this at the end of the day.
Yeah, because we have the senior, right, coming to Oak Tree National, Senior Open?
Yeah, I think so.
Or Senior PGA, maybe. One of them is coming to the senior. I think it's the Senior Open, because they had one when Monty won it.
Right.
And now it's coming back.
Right.
So,
which was cool. And, you go out at the Drew Neville thing, it's like, you look at all the guys that are out there right now and playing out of Oak Tree National. There are so many guys, and so many guys that are having real success out there, whether it be Rain Gibson or it be a Logan McAllister or Quade Cummins. The sport and kind of the stronghold on the Korn Ferry right now with all the Oklahoma guys with Oklahoma connections is really cool to watch. And I think that it's only a matter of time before, they bust out on, quote unquote the bigger scene.
Right.
It's been a lot of fun to watch.
Is it top 30 or top 25 that go to, or is it top 35 that goes to PGA Tour?
I think 30 right now.
30, they bumped it from 25, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so Logan McAllister right now is at 30. Like I said, Kevin Doty's up there. I think Reen's up there because he's had a win.
Sure.
Like, we got plenty of Oklahomans on the board that are, and some of them, obviously, you think of Creel and Reen, like, they've been up and down.
Yeah.
And Kevin, I think, has been up and down the big tour. So, I love golf in this state. It's so good.
Yeah.
Just love it.
It really is like, and I'm completely homer. I know this going in, but I feel like the courses, and particularly on the public side, there's not a whole lot of states that have the types of courses that we have. And, I think that, just with the elements and what we play through in middle of April with the wind, or, even the wind that you get in, right now in June and July, like it helps these guys. And I think that that's why you even see guys that were outsiders like a Victor Hovland making a home in Edmond, to be able to kind of take advantage of what we have to offer, both private and publicly. And obviously those guys will be more connected to the private side, but it's been really cool. And I think, like, you look at AJGA rankings and stuff like that, and it's blowing up with Oklahoma kids and people from this area.
I think today there is an AJGA at Galladia this week.
Taylor's
thing, yeah. So, and I think he's actually on a plane right now coming back for it from the Open. But yeah, it's cool to see, like, obviously him and just kind of his foundation give back to that as well. Right?
Yeah.
Because he was not a country club kid growing up, right?
Yeah.
You know, he's a Muni kid, and it's great to see, obviously, his success and, you know, multiple live winner, and hopefully he can figure out to win, you know, whatever happens at the Live and PGA Tour. Hopefully he continues to win. Moving on from golf, hot bingo nights.
Hot bingo nights, man. The Jones, it's become kind of a staple every Thursday of the beginning of people's weekends, and we've taken a lot of pride in that. It was one of those things that, like, when Brian Bogert approached us, and I do it with his brother Brett, who's the head coach over at Heritage Hall football team. It was kind of like one of those things, like, yeah, we'll do it, and we'll see if people show up, and it's become kind of a hit. It's been a lot of fun to watch it grow here over the last couple of years, and obviously Clubby's been great as the title sponsor, and they put together really cool prize packs for a free bingo game on a Thursday night, which has been kind of fun to be a part of. And I think that, like, there are Thursdays where it's like, and especially doing morning radio on Fridays, where it's like 7:30 rolls around, it's like, oh God, I gotta go do this. But once you get there, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I was there last week. Was it last week? No, the week before.
The one week that I was not there.
Yeah, the week my brother was in town. That's the week I took him, and it was me, my brother, his girlfriend, and my wife, and I won the second game, I think.
Yeah.
And then my brother won one of the games. My brother's not. He told Taryn, my wife, he said, you need to go up and get it. 'Cause I'm not going up there on stage.
Not going on stage. Yeah, we run into that.
Right or not. But yeah, I had a clubby golf towel, which I don't need another golf towel.
Right.
But I got a clubby golf towel, and I think I had a gift card to some makeup place, which I gave to my wife.
It's a win-win
or something. I was like, but it was the day before Froze all day. Or
oh my gosh!
All day, which seemed like a huge hit. I didn't go to Froze all day, but I
was there all day, and it was a day. Let me tell you, it was fun though. It was fun. The Jones Assembly is really cool. I mean, it is kind of one of the premier venues right now in Oklahoma City, and they've done an extremely good job of running it with the social order and everybody that's a part of that over there. It's been a lot of fun to watch. It's kind of like Oklahoma City in itself, that there is so much to do. Like, there's so many people that have come up to me and whether they're coming in for Thunder games or they're coming in for Oklahoma games, and kind of, I guess, really just kind of hyping up Oklahoma City into what it's turned into. It's been a lot of fun, and I think that, like, particularly for people my age, that remember the old brick town, and when you wouldn't necessarily go down there for anything, and now, like, looking back on it, I live downtown. It's certainly undergone a massive growth and change and all that kind of stuff, and I don't know, it's just been a lot of fun to watch here over the last couple of years, especially being from Oklahoma City.
Yeah, it's a blast. It's the first place I take people to when they come to town,
sure,
if they've got enough time.
Yeah.
Even if it's just for a beer or hopping a night, or
sure,
actually just sit down and actually have a proper dinner.
Right.
Saw Gary Clark Jr. there this year. It was fantastic. So yeah, all around venue, I love it. Brian and Graham done such a great job.
Yeah, they've been awesome. It's been awesome. It never really would have, I guess, not necessarily surprised me, but to see what it is and see the venue or the people that they have coming in, it's always kind of like still one of those, like, I don't know about a pinch me moment, but it is like a holy crap. Like, okay, Oklahoma City has a little spot here on this music calendar.
Yeah. Did you go, talking about Oklahoma City, did you go to the mayor's State of the City address thing?
I was in Nashville.
Okay.
I was in Nashville, so I watched it online.
What did you think?
I love David Holt. I think he's been awesome for the city, obviously, with the growth that we've made over the last couple of years. And, I think that he's still fighting a little bit of a battle with the folks that don't want to build a new arena. But, I'm somebody that I don't know how you couldn't see what Chesapeake or Paycom has done for this city, and then say, no, we don't need to make improvements. We don't need to make changes. It's kind of like the University of Oklahoma and their football facilities, to a certain extent, in that, as nice as they are right now, you got to continue to keep up with the Joneses, if you will. You got to be able to build and continue to build for things that instead of looking at, oh, this is going to be here in a year, you got to look at 5 years down the road or 10 years down the road and know where you're trying to forecast everything to be. So, the Thunder has been unbelievable to the city. I understand that there's people that are going to, argue for forever as far as like who should pay for it and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. Maybe this is me just being completely ignorant to the situation, but like a penny sales tax or something, I'll take up 5 other people. Give me a nickel, and we'll go from there. Like it just seems like it's a no-brainer when you're talking about building and continuing to build and to keep the progress that the city has made. So I hope they build it. I hope they get enough support, and I think that they will at the end of the day. I mean, it's going to be backed by a lot of people that have a lot of foresight in what they want this city to become and what they want it to continue to be. And I think it can only be a good thing that comes out of it.
Yeah, BLC.
That's right. That's right. That's right. It really is like going from growing up in Oklahoma City and going to 89ers games out of the state fairgrounds to, what this city has become. Like if you want it to continue to be this up and coming place where people that are, just entering the quote unquote professional setting, like I'm always shocked kind of here recently how many people are moving to Oklahoma City and how like just small things like traffic and stuff like that. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. Like you kind of got a plan for some of this stuff nowadays. Yeah. And as much of it is kind of a pain or a burden or whatever you want to call it of a growing metropolis and a growing city, at the same time, it is still in progress. And, I don't know if I want to ever see this thing become like an Austin where it seems like it's almost out of control now with the growth. But I do think that there are certain, hiccups that you have to kind of go through if you want to make this and continue to build what is a lovely place to live.
Yeah. I had a friend in town last weekend. He came in town to qualify for the USM, so I caddied for him, and he did qualify for the USM.
So
we're
cool,
going
man.
to Denver soon.
So cool.
Can't wait. Shout out Jonathan Bale. He lives in Jupiter, and he flew in, stayed at the house, and then before we went to a practice run at the wonderful Rose Creek, we went up to Gladia, and we were hitting balls at Gladia, and he's like, dude, this is sick. I'm like, I know, it's unbelievable. And he's like, how much is it out here? And I'm like, you won't, like, compared to what you spend in Jupiter, Florida.
Right. You might be able to get a shag bag around Jupiter for that price.
We're driving around the golf course and looking at some of the monster houses that are out there. Like there's kind of like this famous dealership row out there of houses, right? You've got all the dealership owners. And I said, oh, well, that one's actually for sale right now at $6.5 million. And he's like, only $6.5 million to people who live in Oklahoma. Like that's a lot of money, right? It's a lot of money anywhere you live. But when he's living in Jupiter, right, and he's looking at houses that are on Jupiter Island for $30 million, and they're half the size. Yeah, he's like, it puts into perspective of why people are moving here. Because if you're making quote whatever you make on the coasts, right, and you come to Oklahoma and you make relatively the same money, your quality of life goes through the roof here.
Sure,
so
it's awesome.
Other than our winters,
he
doesn't have a winter.
Don't bring him back when we have an ice storm. Exactly. Don't bring him back. Have you been up to Cherry Hills?
No, not yet. No. So I'm actually going to drive out there because I've never been to Denver. Yeah. So I'm going to drive, and that basically make sure that we have a car when we get there, and also I can load the car up with push cart and all the stuff that we need, for the golf. But no, he played the US Mid-Am when it was at Common Ground and the other golf course that they used. So he's played Common Ground, but he hasn't played Cherry Hills yet. So
it's gonna be so cool.
I can't wait. I mean, it's gonna be fun for me. Like I wish I was playing. Sure. And I will forever now try and qualify for the USM, and I haven't in the past. And just being out there, I'm like, I could do this. Like I've got to go and try. But yeah, just to to be on the bag is fun, and obviously with a guy that I've known from back home for a very long time, it's it's gonna be awesome. And Taryn thankfully is letting me go. So I asked when he qualified, he asked me, he's like, hey, would you come to Denver with me? And I said, well, you're gonna have to ask my wife, right? Because I'm not asking. Right, you're gonna have to ask.
That's gonna be so much fun. The whole USGA does an incredible job with all their events that they do, but the US Amateur is still one of those. I don't know. It feels like a truly wide open thing. Like you just get hot for a week and you kind of see where it is.
Right, Brad Dalkey got to to the final.
Yeah.
I don't know how many other Oklahomans we've had that have played pretty well in it, but still,
there's been a couple guys from Oklahoma State that have won it, obviously. It's kind of crazy, even going back to 2019 at the Masters. Like, some kid from Norway just shows up and he wins the U.S. Amateur, and then all of a sudden Victor Hovland's all over golf. So it would be cool. And Shane Bacon's in there, I think, this year.
Bacon qualified.
He qualified, and it's just, I don't know. There's something about qualifying to get into a tournament that everybody or anybody can get into, and then kind of stacking up and seeing where you are. And Ryder Cowan's playing really well right now. I think he qualified, or one of the last guys to qualify to get in. So there's a lot of eyeballs that will be on that, for the U.S. Amateur Week, and I just hope that hopefully you guys make a run. It'd be really cool.
I'm trying to look at the list now, and obviously, how could I forget Hovland winning? Does Kelly Craft play at Oklahoma State? Or was he? No, I think he was SMU.
I think he is an SMU guy, maybe.
He is, yeah. On that name. Peter Uihlein played.
Peter Uihlein, yeah, for sure. Now you got to make sure that you work it to where if he makes a AM final,
we're going to the Masters,
you 100%. Need to be on the bag as well, because you're the good luck charm. It would be very apparent.
Yeah,
I can't imagine what that experience would be like.
It's just, I told him I'll put a painter's jumpsuit on. I don't care.
Yeah,
we'll walk up and down this hill. That's totally fine with me. I know. It would be no pushcart mafia at Augusta.
I can't imagine what the great Hootie Johnson would think of somebody using a pushcart out there. I'm sure that thing would be confiscated before you even got to Magnolia Lane.
Somebody probably take the wheels off it.
Yes.
Going into Magnolia.
Oh yeah, there would be some heads that would be turned. There's no 100%. Doubt about that.
Well, dude, I appreciate you coming in.
Absolutely, man. It's awesome. Really thank you. I appreciate it. It's a fun time right now with everything that's going on in the Oklahoma sports scene, and then obviously with everything else that's out there right now. It feels like the OU and college athletics are entering a phase where nobody knows what's next, and I think that just from a journalistic standpoint, that's really exciting, is really kind of not knowing, even though over the last 10 years you didn't really know because media was changing so quickly. But it feels like things are starting to slow down, at least on the media side, and how people take in information, that we really feel like there's a kind of an opening right now in how games are covered and how we kind of connect those fans to the players. And I think that at the end of the day, that's one of the main priorities and objectives that we do, especially in NIL stuff, is letting people into the lives of a Danny Stutzman or a Dylan Gabriel or somebody like that so many people kind of grow up, and especially in Oklahoma, you idolize those people, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we didn't even talk about Natty's for Patty and another national championship, and
she's unbelievable. Patty Gasso is just
this year, next year, hopefully.
I mean, it's incredible what they were able to accomplish, and really just how we sent 2 people to cover the Women's College World Series this year for the first time, and the numbers that we did on softball stories were just incredible. It was absolutely insane, and obviously they were an insane team that deserved every accolade that they could possibly obtain. It was awesome. It was really cool.
Finishing up, prediction for next year football. What's the record?
They need to win 9 or 10 games. So 9-3, 10-2, I think on paper is probably where Oklahoma is. I think the over-under in Vegas right now is 9.5, and just to build some momentum into 2024, and how crucial this year is for Brent Venables to kind of get things going on the right track. And I think that last year with the 6 and 7 finish and the disappointment that came with it, there were so many times that we would come back from a game and we're doing our podcast for the week on Sundays or Mondays, and it's just like, how do we do this? It was challenging to a certain extent, because you didn't want to just sit there and talk about failures for an hour and a half. And I think that the schedule sets up for Oklahoma to be very, very good if they can just get over the hump in some of the games that they lost. 5 of the 7 losses last year came by 1 score. They lost 3 of their last 5 literally on the final possession of the game, including the bowl game down in Orlando against Florida State. And so, if you can see through that and you can get to why did they lose these games, or why did they turn the ball over, why did they commit a penalty here, or mismanage a game there, it seems like everything's positive right now, and I guess that's the way it's supposed to be in August. You might check back in December to see how everything goes, but it's going to be a lot of fun to see what happens with year number 2 under Brent Venables, because there are so many. He's such a likable guy that there are so many people that are cheering, and wanting this thing to be right. And with everything that happened in that first year and the way that Lincoln left to go to Los Angeles, it was a hurt fan base that I think just expected things to change overnight. And when that didn't happen, I think that's where the frustration and the disappointment stemmed from. But at the same time, it does feel like everything's progressing in the right direction. They went out and they were able to get some guys in the transfer portal. They were still able to bring in a top 5 class last year, recruiting wise, which was kind of pivotal for them to at least have that to be able to fall back on. But at the same time, with all that said, if you don't do it on the 12 Saturdays of fall, there's going to be some very, very unhappy people around here.
100%. 100%. Eddie Radosivich, ladies and gentlemen, at Eddie Rado on Instagram and Twitter. You should definitely follow him on Twitter. Are you on Threads as well?
I am on Threads. I had to just because I wanted to dip in, but I'm such a olds when it comes to like new social media. It just I don't think it's gonna stick.
I popped over to get the name and that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
I do that.
I hopped over. I'm still over on Twitter though. I'm such a sucker.
Twitter is now X, I think, so it's been rebranded. But
thank you, Lord Elon.
Lord Elon. But yeah, for people listening, I will put the link to Eddie's Twitter in the description down below. And if you're around on hot Thursdays, there's not many left. Go on a Thursday at Jones Assembly, get your chance to win $1,000 if you get a full board last game. And we'll catch you next episode. Cheers. Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is brought to you by Hope is Alive. Hope is Alive exists to radically change the lives of drug addicts, alcoholics, and those who love them. Join us on August 11th at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum for a celebration of hope featuring guest speaker Tim Tebow and musical artist Ben Fuller. Find out more and get your tickets at HIA10.com.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.